I'm Roland Alston. I'm the retired host of Making It Grow and helped start this program back in 1993 with two colleagues from South Carolina ETV. Once again be broadcasting live in the ETV studios, receiving calls from South Carolina gardeners, and I'll have a panel. Well, I was real fortunate. I grew up in northwestern Sumter County along what we call the Kings Highway between Charleston and Camden, and lived on a farm there. In fact, it was a land grant to my family in 1735 by King George, so I have deep agricultural roots. I attended the public schools and went on to Clemson and received my undergraduate and graduate degrees in agriculture. It was always my dream to return to Sumter County as county extension agent because my father, 1942 graduate of Clemson, came here as county extension agent in the 40s. He was turned down by the Army for reporting for duties in European theater as a second lieutenant because he had some health problems, and he died in 1950 when I was 2 years old, so I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps. So after receiving both my undergraduate and graduate degrees, I started working with Clemson University in the area of cotton. I was cotton agronomist for 4 years. Then after that, I was an area extension agent working all crops. And then I moved to Camden, actually moved my office to Camden, and was county extension agent in Camden from 1980 to 1981. In 1981, I returned to Sumter as county extension agent until 1993, in which I started Making It Grow, and it was a whole new chapter in my life. When one wants to visit the authority on South Carolina native plants and animals, you really need to go no further than Rudy Mankey.
Well, that's a mighty nice thing to hear, Roland, thank you.
And of course, on the other end of our air-conditioned studios of WRJA, we have Debbie Hayes, better known throughout the South now as Webby Debbie. Good evening, Deb.
Good evening, Roland. We already have quite a few people in the chat room asking some really great questions.
Well, you've got one particular plant that looks like a burning shrub or burning coal, and I see it all along the North Carolina highways. What is it?
That is the burning bush.
I started thinking about an old county extension agent here in Sumter named Mr. Jim Eliezer. He was the second county extension agent in Sumter. And he had an old saying that he used to write all the time for the Co-op magazine in South Carolina. And it was change, change, oh, the constancy of change. And from 1981 up until the early 90s, I just noticed this big transition concerning a county extension office as it related to the calls coming in there. Traditionally, we received commercial agricultural calls, but it was changing to homeowners. More and more questions about centipede grass and tomatoes, gardening and horticultural plants. And we would write for the local paper, and we'd do segments for the local radio station, and it just generated a lot of interest. So I approached ETV here in Sumter, it was WRJA then, and about this idea of a program where we would feature parts of South Carolina to show this uniqueness and diversity we have in South Carolina, and at the same time we would take calls from around the state concerning horticulture or consumer questions that would be of interest to the audience. And I approached my colleagues because at that time we were doing a program called Agriculture Today that was just aired on the regional station here at WRJA, and we just focused on commercial agriculture, and we did very little, if any, consumer horticulture.
A production of the South Carolina Educational Television Network.
The crop is quail. We got a special guest on our program tonight to talk about quail. He's certainly no stranger to the poultry industry in the United States. He's Bill Odom, manager of Manchester Farm. Bill, good having you on the program, and I imagine the first question I'm going to have for you, as a farmer, why quail?
Why not?
Well, that's a good question. For 18 years now, the Clemson Extension Office has been associated with WRJA-TV here in Sumter, covering Sumter and surrounding counties and stories in home economics, 4-H, community development, and agriculture. Well, this is our last program. Next month, we'll be going statewide, a program called Making It Grow. It'll be shown the second Tuesday of each month, 8 o'clock, broadcast live right here in Sumter. Please join us. Once a month, and it was 30 minutes, and where we'd go out to a farm and just talk about livestock or talk about row crops. So I had quite a bit of experience. Now, when it came to live television, I had zero experience, and needless to say, I had some butterflies in my stomach. Live television is so much different than anything you tape. But one thing about live television, when it's over, it's over. But I found out early on, you just have to be who you are and try not to pretend who you aren't. And don't try to copy anybody else. Just be who you are, and the audience recognizes that. And it makes the audience feel much more relaxed and makes you feel relaxed. And everything goes along pretty well after that. Good evening, and welcome to Making It Grow, a common sense approach to gardening in South Carolina. I'm Roland Alston with the Clemson Extension Service. On tonight's program, we'll once again be broadcasting live in the ETV studios, receiving calls from South Carolina gardeners, and I'll have a panel of experts to answer your questions. First, to my immediate left, the beauty of our program, right along with the flowers, Miss Marie Land from Clarendon County, a master gardener. Marie, welcome to Making It Grow, and it's good to have you from the great Santee Lakes.
Thank you very much.
Well, the first episode, I do remember that first episode because I was standing there about 20 or 30 seconds before we went on the air thinking, why did I ever bring this idea up? We didn't have a teleprompter, never have used a teleprompter, and that's a big difference. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of live television programs, people are just reading something. Well, everything here comes straight from the heart, and it's nothing that's read. But I did have to have some information relating to certain aspects of the program, and we used to take used manila folders and write on them with magic markers and hang them under and on top of the camera. And that's how we got by the first couple of years before we really got adjusted to not using any type of informational for reference. The first program was, needless to say, very nervous for all of us, and I distinctly remember we came on at 8 o'clock. We were so new that the people in Columbia forgot to flip the switch. So from 8 to 8:30, we weren't even statewide, and at 8:30 they remembered to flip the switch, and then from 8:30 to 9, we were statewide then, and it worked out real good. The original show was only on once a month during the winter, and then in the spring months, from about February, March till about September, we were on twice a month, and it was an hour-long program. And we had 2 featured segments, and of course the show has just changed so much since our original show, and we've always tried to add this new technology and do new things that will maintain the audience and maintain their interest. Couldn't help do that for last year. Well, of course, in live television, anything can happen. You know, you don't stop and retape it. And at one time, I thought I'd like to tape everything rather than do it live, but now I'd much rather do it live because it's over with. You just have problems, technical problems primarily, you know, whether microphone going out and one of the engineers may have to crawl out on his hands and knees and start working on your microphone while the camera's on someone else, or we might have someone who's a little late showing up, and that really makes you nervous, because at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night on South Carolina ETV, Making It Grow is on the air, and it doesn't wait on anyone because they had a late dental appointment or anything, and you have to have a full staff and a full studio. There are more people behind the camera than in front of the camera, and it's really a team effort. It's just not the people in front of the camera that really make the show successful. It's everybody on that team. But I think the amusing part sometimes is all the calls are just as fresh as the morning dew. In other words, the audience hears the calls when I hear the calls. So some of these people calling around South Carolina, it can be quite comical, some of the questions and the accents they use and what they say. And you really have to watch yourself to keep from doing a lot of laughing. You have to, make sure that every call is greeted with the same degree of seriousness. I remember one program we had, unfortunately, this gentleman called in and handed the phone to his daughter or a child or someone, and the little girl said very clearly, and I was looking at the camera, she said, "Mr. Alston, I just want to tell you, you got a big booger hanging out your nose." And of course, the natural reaction sometimes is, to take your hand and approach your nose. But in television, anytime you get calls like that, any obscene calls or anything that's out of the ordinary, you never acknowledge it. And you change the subject quite a bit as to if she was asking another question. And so when she said that, even though it was difficult to believe that an adult would let a child do that, I just about fell off the stool laughing.
As it's so wonderful to be Glenda the Good Witch that I'm perfectly willing to sacrifice it for the evening.
Well, you talk about feeling strange. How about me? I've got on a solid shirt, being the Wizard of Oz, a green shirt. I almost feel naked without a plaid shirt.
Well, and Roland, I've known you for about 8 or 10 years now, and I've never seen you in a jacket before.
Believe it or not, and I do say this in all sincerity, I don't look at myself as having a lot of fame and notoriety. I think as the former county extension agent, and my picture in the paper every week is a news article. I wrote for the state paper, Columbia, the Orangeburg Times and Democrat. I wrote for the Greenville Journal. You had a lot of exposure there, and you had name and face recognition. There's very few places you go in South Carolina that someone doesn't recognize you, whether it's a restaurant or wherever it may be. It's rewarding from the standpoint of being able to meet people. That's what I enjoy. Someone coming up and say, I'm Joe Blow from Spartanburg, and I've been doing this and I've been doing that. And I've enjoyed meeting the people around the state. But the fame and fortune, there hadn't been any financial fortune with it, I can assure you, because as a state employee, we hadn't got filthy rich like some of our colleagues and peers out in Hollywood. But the most rewarding part of it, the fortune part, is when we air something and we go out in the state and focus on these small businesses, these small entrepreneurs that don't have the financial resources to advertise. Legally, we can't advertise on public television, but what we can do is make people aware. And once we air a segment and air one of these small businesses and they report that their sales have gone up quite a bit, and a lot of South Carolinians didn't know about it, that's really the fortune in it. And that's where I get the positive feedback from. The show has really grown by leaps and bounds. We've been putting a lot of fertilizer around the plant roots, and the plant has responded very nicely. We started with a second show called The Best of Making It Grow. It's a 26-minute, 46-second segment that's aired on South Carolina ETV every Friday night at 7 o'clock. And what we do is we relive the colorful video segments of Making It Grow. It is a tape segment, and it's not a live segment, and we just focus on the places that we visited in South Carolina. In addition, we offered this same program to a national network, RFD TV, which is on DirecTV, and we're on a national broadcast now with DirecTV, with Best of Making It Grow on several times a week. So this has given South Carolina and some of these small businesses a lot of national exposure, and we're quite proud of that. In addition, we started 42-second radio spots with NPR. We were on South Carolina educational radio every day with a horticultural spot, just something to arouse the interest in gardeners, something that may be taking place right now in the plant world, whether it be a worm on tomato, or dead spots in centipede grass. And in here in the studio, we've changed quite a bit. Everything has to change in terms of technology if you want to keep an audience and expand your message. We're on streaming video right now, courtesy of FTC. They've been very generous over the years as an underwriter for Making It Grow, and they've helped us with the streaming video. So you can be in Beijing, China now, and at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, if you want to watch Making It Grow, you can watch it live, just like you'll be right here in South Carolina. In addition, we started this chat room. You know, everybody loves chat rooms now, Facebook, Twitter, and everything, and we're in the age of computers. So we have someone running the chat room on each program, and gardeners can log in to the Making It Grow website and get on that chat room, and they can ask a question, they can answer a question. In addition, we started with some Skyping with Dr. John Nelson. He's the curator and director of the A.C. Morbarium at University of South Carolina. He's that mystery doctor with the mystery plant I always talk about each week. And he has a mystery plant each week that we try to identify, and it's of educational nature, and we try to show South Carolinians some of these plants, especially some of the native plants that have existed here so long. In addition, we try to show some of the plants that we don't want in South Carolina, some of them that have invaded, like the Kogon grass and plants that we're trying to get rid of that cause lots of problems. So the show is constantly evolving. It's just like John Deere, a Ford Motor Company, a General Electric. You've got to have new products. You can't just sit there and rest on your past laurels. You've got to have a new way of disseminating information, because we're in the information age. We did a segment years ago with a gentleman down in Charleston. He worked on Daniel Island as a blacksmith on the farm. His name was Mr. Philip Simmons. And Mr. Simmons was in his early 90s when we did this segment. Unfortunately, he's passed away since then. But he started as a blacksmith, and he didn't have any formal training, anything. He didn't have any education. But after the mule and buggy days passed, he started taking his little blacksmith shop and his hammer and his anvil, and he started making gates and wrought iron gates. And today, Mr. Simmons' work is not only shown in Charleston around a lot of churches, but you can find it at the State Museum and in many places up and down the eastern seaboard. And I think it really impressed me that this gentleman took the talents that his creator gave him, and he used them to the best of his ability, and he was quite successful. Some of the other stories, everybody knows I love to eat. You can look at me from the side, in my profile, you can tell that I love to eat, specifically South Carolina barbecue, and I always talk about barbecue, and I think we have a lot of fun talking about barbecue in the state, because barbecue in the state is different. Just the people in the state are different. I mean, the people are different from Pickens County to Charleston County, and they're different from Aiken to the Grand Strand. And I'm a vinegar pepper man, and people that use ketchup and mustard need to put that on hot dogs and hamburgers, and I'll put the vinegar on my barbecue. And I think one of the places that I really remember quite a bit with fond memories is Scott's Barbecue at Brunson's Crossroads, just outside of Hemingway. And Rodney Scott and his family have a place there, and if you saw it from the outside, you probably wouldn't stop. And when you flip this hog, it's got to be a delicate process, because you don't want this tender meat to tear up. You put your sauce on it. And of course, it's vinegar, it's pepper, but it's also got a secret ingredient. Share it with me. I'm not going to tell a soul.
Now, okay, since it's you, I'm going to tell you. The secret ingredient to our sauce is love. You put love in it, you'll get love back. We won an Emmy Award with that program. In fact, we've won 6 Emmys, Southeastern Regional Emmys here, and about 9 or 10 tellies, so we're real proud of our peer recognition. But to me, it just epitomized South Carolina as it relates to some of our culinary skills and the way we've done it over the years and the way we continue to do it. This family cooks it the old-fashioned way on a pit with hickory and oak wood, and their barbecue, in my opinion, is really second to none.
You have been a great asset as an ambassador for agriculture, and we are privileged to have you in South Carolina. In short, this award honors a life well lived, and while it is difficult to compress and describe in a letter, your countless contributions to our citizens will have a lasting impact on South Carolina for many years to come. Thank you for all that you have done and continue to do for the state of South Carolina. My very best, Nikki R. Haley. Congratulations. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's kind of like if you sell gasoline on the block and you're the only gasoline station, it's a whole lot easier to sell gasoline. Well, we've searched the net, and for a live gardening program, there's really nothing like it that we found in the United States, where you have audience participation, where you have a panel asking questions, where you're doing Skyping, where you're doing streaming, and have a chat room, and all these things add up to add variety. And the program contains a lot of transition. The program just doesn't sit there and focus on someone reading a gardening question. Another thing that I think has generated a lot of interest is the folksy set we have, the South Carolina General Store, and the panel not using any type of reading material or anything, everybody just being themselves and relaxed. And the third thing is the audience participation. I think people love to hear other people talk on TV. They like to try to answer the questions themselves, and this live call-in with Making It Grow, I think just adds a whole new dimension and just retains the audience. Well, I don't think any doubt the most positive thing about our state are the people, and they're so different, but this diversity I think just adds to the strength. I use this analogy all the time that the people in Charleston are so much different than the people in Pickens. If you don't believe it, just ask the people in Charleston and they'll tell you they're different from anybody in the world. But it's definitely the people, and we have a lot of people in this state that love their state, and they're trying to do good and trying to do good with the schools, businesses, and churches and communities and everything. And while we have lots of problems in the state, I think that we have a lot of people trying to do good things for the state. We're not a rich state in terms of quantitative values when it comes to dollars and cents, but we are rich in friendliness, and I really like that place on the license tag when we say, you know, smiling faces and beautiful places. And everywhere we've been, we've just been received with open arms and everything, and the friendliness of South Carolinians and their interest in the state and their love for the state, I think without a doubt is the #1 attribute we have. Sumter is home, #1, and #2, I'd been working with these individuals so long, and I felt comfortable with these individuals. It's kind of funny in television when you open the show and you've got the same cameraman that's been back there for years and years, and you get a different one sometimes. You just feel more comfortable with the people that you're working with. My office was right across the street from the studio, and when we had to interact anything, it made it much more convenient. Another thing is, geographically, Sumter is the center of the state. It's not Columbia. You've got to travel to the beach or to the mountains or to the Savannah River. You're really better off in Sumter than any other part. So the proximity really helped out in traveling. And I found out that I had other opportunities, and I just felt that I owed South Carolina so much, and I don't think I can ever express enough of my gratitude to the taxpayers of this state for giving me a job that I receive fair compensation and fair benefits, and I work with real good people, and having been employed with Clemson University for 42 years, I never had a bad supervisor, and if I had a bad supervisor, I didn't have enough sense to know I had a bad supervisor. So I just felt like that everything had been going good for me in my life, and it's much more important to me to work with people that I care about and people that care about me than any type of money, fame, or fortune. And you've got something over there I believe you want to show.
I do have something, Roland, and my husband, John Land, Senator John Land, is in the Senate as we speak, and he wanted to give you this on behalf of the South Carolina Senate. And I do want to read it. I really do want to read this to you. On a motion of Senator John C. Land III, Senate District 36, this certificate is presented to Roland Alston in honor and recognition of your retirement as a full-time host of Making It Grow. You continue to share your wealth of knowledge and love of gardening with your fellow South Carolinians, fostering a green thumb in communities across the state. Your casual approach and positive attitude awakens the gardener in everyone. The lives you have touched and gardens you have inspired are far more numerous to count. The South Carolina State Senate does hereby honor and congratulate you upon your retirement and thanks you for your service to your state and your community. given this 26th day of June in the year of 2012 from the South Carolina Senate. And that is for you, for all that you've done to promote South Carolina and to make us aware of what a wonderful state we have. Thank you
so much, and tell John and other members of the South Carolina Senate how much I appreciate it. And on my retirement, I may slip down in Clarendon County and go deer hunting with him one afternoon.
I hope so. That would be great.
I say this all the time. Kenny Rogers had an old saying, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And I've been doing this program now for almost 19 years, and I was thoroughly enjoying my work and enjoying the people I work with, and loved going out in the state and meeting everybody. But I recognized it was time for a change. We needed new ideas and new blood, and I was reaching a point in my life where I thought I needed to pursue some other interests. Specifically, I needed to start giving more than I was taking. So I started thinking about maybe I need to do some work with Habitat for Humanity. I do some of this type of work to help less fortunate people here in our state. And at the same time, I felt good about the program because we had a co-host that I knew could walk in and take over, and the program would continue. And she would bring new ideas and new thoughts into the program and kind of add a little hybrid vigor to it and would improve it. And I think she's definitely done that. And there have been some changes in the program, and I think all of them have been positive. And I just wanted to spend a little bit more time on my farm doing some of the things that I enjoy. I'm nothing but an old farm boy, and I enjoy wildlife gardening and doing things for the deer, the turkey, and the quail, because they're being infringed on every day as South Carolina goes from a rural to an urban state. And I have a place at Edisto, and I love offshore fishing, and wanted to go down to Edisto and not have to worry about coming back on every Sunday afternoon where I could stay there on Monday or Tuesday. So I just felt like it was time. And I asked a lot of questions about how do you know when you want to retire. And I remember an old gentleman told me, he said, well, I can't tell you that. He said, it's kind of like getting married. You'll know when you meet the right person, and you'll know when it's time to retire. And last year I knew it was time, and ETV and Clemson wanted me to work a little longer to provide a transition for the new hostess, Amanda McNulty, and it worked out real well. It's going to be a lot of fun watching this young lady take over, because I wouldn't be leaving if I didn't think that this program could get better. And I know with Amanda, with the knowledge she has, with the energy she has, she's going to take this program to another level. And Amanda, I just certainly appreciate the time with you, and you sitting in this chair and looking at those wonderful hats and all the good things that you've done for this program. Everything we do in the plant and animal kingdom needs to be based on research, and that our land-grant universities throughout the United States, through their applied and basic research programs, are trying to provide answers for us to improve the quality of life for us and the things that we manage. And that agriculture is a technical and sophisticated science. It's not an art. And that whatever we do has to be based on scientific decisions. And I hope 100 years from now that if someone happens to see that, number one, they'll say, gosh, he ate too much barbecue. They may not know what barbecue is 100 years from now. But the second thing they may say is that they were on the right track 100 years ago. They were following basic information that science had proven correct. It wasn't based on emotions, but it was based on things that, on replicated research that has benefited the society back then and will continue to benefit society. It's a constant learning process, and I think that's one of the things that has maintained the interest in making it grow, is that even with undergraduate and graduate degrees, we don't have all the answers. And we can learn from each other about this environment, about the plants and the animals that we're responsible for managing. And it's been a tremendous learning experience for me. We've answered a lot of questions, but believe me, these gardeners have educated this old man.